Right here is a slight elevation change between this point and this point, which just means this is a gentle hill, and this area is higher in the landscape than there, so water's going to flow down. So all I've done is just create kind of a speed bump for the water to catch at the bottom of this really small hill, and the water sits here longer, and then everything downhill of that will be more drought resistant and be watered more. So I can start planting on the back side of this and leave it alone once the system gets developed. But it can be as simple as just piling dirt up and leaving it. You're just making a little bump, and then here where the dirt is not so red, that's where it was. And I had some here, and there was a spot that settled. You can do this a little along the way. It doesn't have to be this, 1 mile or 2 mile long project that you have to get done in a day, especially if you're doing this with a wheelbarrow and a shovel, just basic hand tools. But I had some extra dirt today on another project, so this is what I did. Just kind of keep extending it further and further. And then at this point, the next time I have dirt, it won't be able to go much further because that's the drainage ditch, and I want to leave that as is. I've mentioned this in some other videos, but it'll go all the way to where this mimosa tree is. The water will fill up, and then once it's full, it'll start backing its way out and into the spillway ditch, and just allow another opportunity. If we have a drought season, this area will be able to be planted with nursery stock, small seedling trees, and they will have that much better a chance at surviving. And then on the berm, I have black currants. Those will get about 4 or 5 feet tall, and I think they're going to do really, really nicely. Here's the same method, but there are no trees on this area of the hill. So elevation's higher up there, the water's going to flow down, and it would keep flowing down the hill unless there was something to stop it, or you planted this whole landscape with trees or some sort of vegetation. Here I was able to dig, and the dirt that came out was able to make this berm, and this is not finished. This is kind of where the other project was. I did as much as I could, as much as the dirt would allow, and when I get more dirt from a project, I will add to this and build it up. But right now, it's holding water. There's mud in the bottom of that. It rained yesterday, so it's functioning, even though it's potentially not attractive. There's a lot of different ways. There's a slight angle, so the water doesn't sit in the channel. It'll pool here and it'll sit here. I'd like to show you some other examples where we've showed you where you can add dirt to a space. You can take dirt out and use the dirt that's right there if you don't have trees. And then you can also use a tree itself. If it's fallen down or you have woody debris, you can back the water up that way. There's another small hillside, and I'm trying to show you really, really simple versions of this. You can kind of let your imagination run wild. This is a very short log that could almost be firewood if you cut it up a little bit more. It's laid on the downhill side of the hill, and then there are a 9-bark tree and a mulberry tree planted kind of below, kind of next to it. And then anytime I have small twigs, I put them on the uphill side. Now, because of this berm, there's not a lot of catchment area, but that's okay. This is just an experiment. You could do this in a better location on your site, but just having the limbs that fell from the trees concentrated in this area, insects are going to move in, more moisture will be able to be held here. It's going to be a really good situation, and you can take this idea and multiply it by 50 and really have a large beneficial planting area on your site. This is very, very simple. It's nothing more than pine tree limbs and woody debris. Some of those are offcuts of dimensional lumber from woodworking projects. Nothing pressure treated, nothing treated with chemicals. It's all wood that'll break down. I left the bark on the pine trees so they'll rot quicker. But yeah, that's gonna start breaking down, and then this area will retain more moisture, and I'm gonna start planting that after I see some activity start to break down here. It can get confusing in a way, but this might be helpful to look at this area right here, which is just an elevated gravel parking pad. There is some compaction, but for the most part, this is very well draining. The goal is to get water into the soil and off of the surface. That's what we're doing with all of these structures. With everything, the goal is to get water into the ground, which is the largest holding capacity tank that you could ever have. So that's another way it could look. And this is serving a very, very similar function as a swale or a berm. And it is putting water and storing it for later. And then can start planting right here, and roots will soak that water up. They'll go deeper and deeper to find it, and the situation just keeps getting better. And that's how forests work, and that's how I want my garden to work. So that's it. That's the update for today.